Hello, friends. Welcome to our class on purpose as a catalyst for individual fulfillment and collective wellness. I'm Stephanie Zamora, founder and head change agent at Choose Your Calling, a new revolution in purpose, contribution, and creative solutions for systemic and social justice issues. For nearly 2 decades, my work has been merging the worlds of healing, personal development, digital media, content creation, and online marketing to help individuals build purpose-driven lives and businesses. I have always said that purpose is my purpose because as far back as a young child and angsty teenager, you could often find me pondering the meaning of life while nursing a heavy heart in response to the immense suffering that happens globally. My life took me through a series of disorienting experiences and seasons of struggle that brought me to my knees, teaching me more about healing and finding wholeness than I ever wanted to know. But like all things, these experiences shaped me in my work, allowing everything to become deeper, wider, and richer. Choose Your Calling is a media and production company, publishing house, and full-service branding and marketing agency centered on purpose. We aim to redefine the collective understanding of purpose and how we live ours, effectively setting new standards for all industries and service providers that directly or indirectly support life purpose development work. Our mission as a company, which is to give you some context for why we are leading this class, is to inspire a global transformation where living with purpose is the foundation of individual fulfillment and collective wellness. We envision a world where everyone can safely live their fullest expression and no one is held back or harmed by systems, subconscious programming, trauma interpretations, or fear. We envision a world where land, community, and connectivity are central to purpose, personal growth, and healing work, and collective care is at the heart of all business, services, and commerce. We envision a world where all coaches, therapists, teachers, and guides engage with clients cleanly, meaning free from unconscious bias, harmful projections, limited worldviews, and egoic influence. We envision a world where purpose, healing, and growth work are accessible to all people, regardless of financial or time resources, and in ways that honor different learning, personality, and energy styles. And we envision a world where historically marginalized and under-recognized voices, knowledge, stories, and perspectives are centered to create a future rooted in equity, collective well-being, and regenerative impact. I am thrilled to welcome you to this first session in the Unraveling Lab, redefining our understanding of purpose. If you're new here, the Unraveling Lab is an open and accessible learning space for individuals and professionals who are ready to reclaim purpose from systemic conditioning and redefine how we live, work, and support others. Before we can step fully into our purpose, we must first unravel the stories that we've been told about who we are, what we're here to do, and how purpose aligns with community and environmental care. The Unraveling Lab is an educational series designed for individuals seeking their purpose and service providers in purpose and adjacent industries who want to ensure that their work doesn't uphold or reinforce systemic harm and oppression. Through guided video sessions, we examine how systemic and social conditioning shape our beliefs about purpose, identity, and work, the ways that subconscious programming keeps us small, compliant, and disconnected from our fullest expression, how service providers, be that coaches, therapists, healers, and educators, can shift their methods to center ethical care, contribution, and collective well-being. What it takes to rebuild purpose on a foundation of alignment, integrity, and regeneration. So unraveling is not about destruction in unnecessary or harmful ways. It is about deconstructing what no longer serves us and weaving something new. When we free ourselves from limiting narratives, we make space for purpose work that is deeply true, ethical, and expansive, not just for ourselves, but for the communities that we serve and the world that we're shaping. Now that you have a better understanding of who we are and how we work, let's dig in. So first, let's talk about redefining our understanding of purpose. Purpose is a more complex conversation than most make it out to be. In the life purpose coaching world, there is a lot of talk about finding your one true purpose in life, which leads to frustration and disbelief that purpose is a real thing that can even be uncovered. Some people don't like being boxed in by quote-unquote one path, and others struggle to pinpoint this elusive one thing that they're here to do. And that's because the industry's definition of purpose is incomplete. The driving definition of life purpose coaching and where it goes wrong. Let's dig into this. Many life purpose coaches present purpose as that single aha moment, You'll take a quiz with some preference-based questions and boom, you're going to know your one true purpose in life and be good to go. But there are two major issues with this approach. First, most of these assessments are skill and interest-based, helping you identify potential work roles and career paths. But how we might best make money to pay our bills inside a harmful capitalistic system is not an indicator of our purpose. Purpose being who we were designed to be and how our purpose wants to express itself now. These methods of uncovering our purpose are inherently flawed. Second, they perpetuate the myth that we have one true purpose in life. This idea that once you uncover your purpose, and remember that purpose is often incorrectly defined as a single role or career path, you'll do that one thing until your final days. The idea that we're here to do one thing and one thing only and always directly opposes how purpose actually works. Do some people's purpose expressions stay the same for a lifetime? Absolutely. That's because the times didn't change enough or life didn't shape them in a specific enough way that demanded a different expression. And beyond that single aha moment and one true purpose in life conversation, purpose is also commonly conflated with passion by life purpose coaching and the personal development industry. Passion and purpose are two very different things, though they often intertwine. So passion is personal and self-serving. It's what you love and what lights you up. But passions often change throughout the different stages of our lives. Purpose is who we are here to be, who we are designed to grow into. It is the very makeup of who we are as a being. Furthermore, purpose always centers on contribution, which inherently considers the greater good. It is not solely self-focused. So let's talk about redefining purpose for life purpose coaching. Many definitions of and conversations about purpose disconnect us from our animal bodies, physical reality, and our place inside this planet's ecosystems. They can be overly spiritual and ungrounded in this human earthly realm. So things like God has a plan for your life, or your soul chose this exact experience in advance. While there may be some truth to those things, they neglect the fact that we are also a human being having a human experience in this earthly realm. They can be individual-centric, so the belief that purpose should bring fame, ego validation, or make us feel important and special. Or the idea of purpose gets wholly rejected because it feels ever elusive and impossible to define or pin down. Additionally, people often believe that purpose is something grand in scale, like becoming globally recognized and celebrated or changing the course of history and solving world problems. Why? Because we don't understand the systemic elements at play that influence this thinking. According to the dictionary definition, purpose, a noun, means the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. This aligns perfectly with the underlying questions that humans are often asking when we're wondering, what is the purpose of life? We want to know the reason for which we were created and exist. In our work at Choose Your Calling, we define purpose as show up, be you, and do what you feel called to do. Now, due to conditioning, which is the process of training or accustoming a person to behave in a certain way or to accept certain circumstances, most people hear this through an individual-centric lens. But true purpose isn't self-serving. It is not about prioritizing our passions at the expense of other people, animals, and the land. It is not about hoarding wealth or resources. And while our purpose work may bring recognition, it is certainly not about fame as a means to make us feel good about ourselves. So let's break down our definition. Showing up is about contribution and community care. Showing up to hold up our corner in the web of life, a web that weaves everyone and everything together, sustaining all life. Being you is about living our fullest expression. It is not about finding or creating ourselves, as inspirational quotes would have us believe. It is about remembering who we've always been, the person that we were born to be in this life with all of our unique idiosyncratic gifts. And idiosyncratic is just a fancy word. It means having strange or unusual habits, ways of behaving, or features. So essentially, the things that make you unique and different. And lastly, doing what you feel called to do is about choosing to become who we were born to be, not who the systems and social structures have conditioned or even in some cases forced us to become. That said, and despite common misinterpretations of our name, we don't believe that you get to choose who you want to be in this life. We believe that your purpose has been hard coded into you since before you were born. That is the seed of purpose, who we are and who we're here to be. However, how our purpose expresses itself, the work that we're here to do, changes based on the times that we live in and how our experiences shape us. Ultimately, we must choose to give ourselves over to our callings and actualize our fullest expression so that we can contribute to the world in the ways that we are meant to. And the truth is, everything in this world is created with a purpose. This isn't a nice idea or inspirational quip. It is a fundamental truth of our world. Every sentient life is designed to grow into a specific creature and take its place in the animal kingdom, and that includes humans. A kitten, for example, is designed to grow into a cat. Every kitten that is born is designed inherently in its being to grow into the fullest expression of its unique design, a design that has been hard-coded into its very being, its very makeup. That design contains its core personality along with its energetics. And while there isn't an energy typing system for animals like we have for humans, all beings have inherent energetics. For animals, energetics are often instinctual and sensory driven. So this can be seen in how they respond to different environments, bond with humans or other animals, and take on protective, responsive, or leadership roles. One cat might have a grounding, self-contained energy, while another may have spastic energy and amplify its owner's emotions. Like animals, every seed is designed to grow into an organism and take its place in a larger ecosystem. If you plant an acorn, it won't grow into a crop of carrots. It will grow into an oak tree, and whether the seed is red or white determines whether it will be a red or a white oak. Similarly, if you plant corn kernels, you're going to reap corn come harvest time because those seeds are designed to grow into their fullest expression, assuming that the conditions and the timing are just right for them to flourish. And what that means, flourish, is the ability for a person, animal, or other living organism to grow or develop healthily or vigorously, especially as a result of a particularly favorable environment. Humans are born with an inherent design that is hard-coded into them. This is the seed of our purpose. Growing into our fullest expression is living our inherent design, actualizing that seed and being who we are here to be, doing what we feel called to do, and ideally contributing to the world in the way that only we can. The world may sway you away from that seed, but it's never lost or destroyed. And we'll talk more about that interconnection between purpose and systems next. But first, let's dig deeper into purpose expression because this distinction is crucial. How our purpose expresses itself changes based on how life has shaped us and the times that we live in. So first, life is always shaping us. The experiences that we have, be that trauma, loss, school, jobs, relationships, culture, on, and the systems that we live in, which we'll break down next, constantly shape us as we move through life. And I often use myself as an example of this. When I was 30, I was clear on my calling in the world. I taught people how to find their passions and build a life and business around it. I loved my work and I loved my clients. And I had created a tremendous amount of meaning and joy in my life. Then I experienced a sudden and traumatic loss that left me with PTSD, led me into an abusive relationship, caused my business to die slowly, resulting in bankruptcy, and left me with a slew of health issues to sort out. I learned more than I ever wanted to know about finding healing and wholeness in the aftermath of challenging chapters and big life transitions. I learned what it takes to make a comeback and rebuild my life from the ashes of what it once was. This shaped my work and my purpose expression in the world. I built the first iteration of our brand vertical Call of the Void, created our journey mapping program, wrote my memoir Unravel, and launched our Tales from the Journey podcast showcasing other people's triumphant comebacks. And I generally deepened the conversation of my purpose work to include more of a healing focus. Life shaped me, and the way my purpose expressed itself shifted. Now, this happens in significant ways like mine, as well as in small ways. We can be in a relationship that causes us to heal, grow, or change our minds about things. We can travel the world and have our eyes open through different experiences and cultures. We can read a book, attend an event, or converse with a stranger, and it will shape us and how our purpose expresses itself. Second, the times that we live in are constantly and rapidly changing. We all experience this collectively in significant ways with so many global and cultural events over recent years, but it's always been true. What's happening in the world directly influences who we become and the work we feel called to do. Take Greta Thunberg as an example. She is clearly wired to be passionate and vocal about the things that matter to her. If we weren't in a climate crisis, she might have begun taking a stand for animal rights, shifting our education systems, or critical social justice causes. But she was born, the person she is, during a time when the climate crisis is here and present, and so it has shaped how her purpose expresses itself. Or take a look at Gandhi, who was a key leader in India's fight for independence from British rule. His purpose was rooted in nonviolence, dedication to peace and justice, independence and sovereignty, and simple and self-sufficient ways of living. If he'd been born at a time when India was already free, he may have been more focused on helping the residents of his community live more simply and in communal harmony, despite the many differences of the diverse communities across the country. But he was born the person that he was when civil disobedience was needed to create the changes that called him into leadership. There's also Jane Goodall, who was drawn to work with the animals that lit her up from a very young age. If chimpanzees and other primates were extinct, she may have focused her passion on other living creatures or working to protect global ecosystems from destruction because they're home to so many beautiful beings. But she was born during a time when primates are alive, so it has shaped how her purpose expresses itself. Lastly, there's Martin Luther King Jr., a prominent American civil rights movement leader who dedicated his life to achieving racial equality and justice. If Dr. King had been born at a time when there was no question that all people deserve equal rights, his purpose expression might have focused on labor and workers' rights, international human rights, or improving educational opportunities, especially for marginalized communities. But he was born during a time when racism in America was, and still is, prevalent and in need of his voice and vision. This is true in my work as well. Choose Your Calling is an evolution of my purpose expression and work based on social injustices, oppressive and harmful systemic issues, and environmental concerns. Should the United States falter or further limit this type of work by, say, making it illegal, my purpose would need to find another channel and means of expression. Understanding that purpose has two parts is essential to the work of finding our purpose and living it full out, as who we're here to be, not who the systems have conditioned and forced us to become. This is an essential understanding for individuals and service providers so that we can create a society where all people can safely live their fullest expression, leading to collective liberation and well-being, community and environmental care, and an equitable world. Next, let's look at the interconnection between purpose and systemic change. To live our purpose in life, we have to free ourselves from systemic conditioning. And to free ourselves from systemic conditioning, we must understand systems and their influence. Only when we understand systemic influence and work to decondition on an individual level can we collectively create a world where everyone can safely live their fullest expression. Remember, as humans, we're born with an inherent design that is hard-coded into us, just like animals and organisms. As humans, we're also immediately born into a cluster of man-made systems. These affect animals and organisms too, but we're going to focus on us as humans for now. These systems typically include family, cultural, religious, and social systems, and whichever healthcare system may be present at birth. As we age, we're thrust into some version of an educational and expanded social system. And as humans, our subconscious mind is the only thing available to us until we're about 5 to 7 years old, sometimes even older. Now, without our conscious minds online, we don't have the ability to accept or reject information. So we are wide open to the influences of these systems and the people within them. Those influences create childhood trauma, core wounds, subconscious winning strategies, relational attachment styles, and they lock in our personality type's fixation. The core, often negative, mental patterns or belief that each personality type tends to hold on to, essentially shaping their perspective on the world and influencing their behavior. These influences and effects shape us into conditioned and compliant adults, conforming to what the systems expect and demand of us. It is crucial to understand that this is by design. Systems can only survive when they are upheld. And every system has a beneficiary, usually a group of people. A system like capitalism requires that most humans conform to the beliefs that productivity equals worth, that success can only be measured by external achievements, and this is one of life purpose coaching's favorite flawed beliefs, individual struggle is a personal failing rather than a structural issue. When people internalize a system's inherent narratives, they become easier to manage, less likely to question authority, and more inclined to police themselves and others into compliance. This conditioning ensures that the system remains intact, benefiting the few at the expense of the many. This is not accidental, it is engineered. Now, as we mature into adulthood, we begin interacting with even more systems if we haven't encountered them already. And most of these are deeply intertwined. This includes patriarchal, social, justice, healthcare, food, government, financial, workforce, and global systems. In short, systems create conditions that actively hinder our fullest expression, especially if we are considered other inside that system, as in, not one of the privileged. Many are specifically designed to strip us of who we are and mold us into who they need us to be. They create an unsafe, inequitable, violent, and oppressive world. This leads to complex and acute trauma, experiences of grief and loss, lack of essential resources that keep us from thriving, numbing techniques, dissociation, self-harm, depression, anxiety, illness, broken relationships, panic disorders, and this is just to name some of the effects of systems. Be sure to check out our class on navigating systems if you want to go deeper into this aspect. Now that you have a better understanding of purpose, along with systems and their harmful influences, you can see how the conditions are generally not ideal for most people to actualize that seed of purpose within and find the most aligned purpose expression for these times. From the moment that we are born, we are introduced to these systems. And from the moment that we're introduced to these systems, we are conditioned away from ourselves, which creates a life where we're not in tune with who we're here to be or the work we're here to do, let alone willing and able, and by that I mean free and leveraged, to pursue them fully. It's essential to understand the systemic elements at play when it comes to uncovering our purpose in life or helping others do this work as coaches, teachers, mentors, and guides. Most people working in life purpose or personal development coaching don't understand systems and have little to no training in systems thinking. Worse yet, many are privileged within those very systems, so they don't understand the harm caused to and limitations imposed on marginalized communities. What that means is that the coach has a special right, advantage, or immunity, that's privilege, that most people don't, often due to factors like social class, race, gender, and other aspects of identity. In fact, many of these coaches will tell clients who have little to no results from their work that they are not working hard enough, aka not taking enough personal responsibility, or that their mindset is the problem. But the reality is that you can hustle 23 out of 24 hours in a day and think positively 100% of that time and still not move the needle even slightly because of inequities, injustices, bigotry, and deeply entrenched systemic barriers that limit access to opportunities, resources, and support. And ignoring these realities places the burden of success solely on the individual, as if mindset and effort alone can overcome obstacles like generational poverty, discrimination, or lack of social capital. Promoting a one-size-fits-all, hyper-individualistic approach that dismisses the very real external challenges that people face reveals a major shortcoming and lack of education and awareness within the coach. Sometimes, not doing the work consistently enough or our mindset is a factor, but that doesn't negate the impact of systems. To oversimplify the issue as a personal failure is to align with the systems of harm and abdicate any ownership or accountability in their role as a coach. You also can't mindset your way past violent racism, misogyny, and oppression. You can't positive vibes only past inequity, under recognition, and other people's unconscious biases. Can your mindset support an internal context that can better weather the effects of systems? Definitely. But that's an entirely different conversation than most people in the coaching industry are having. In fact, Much of, if not all of our present day personal development industry is rooted in colonial, patriarchal, white supremacy. Think about it. Who's seen as the quote unquote fathers of personal development? Who's written the most read and celebrated books on growth and success? It's primarily white men. Not because white men inherently knew best, but because they were the only people with any rights, respect, access to wealth, education, and resources, and who the systems were designed to celebrate and support. And who designed those systems? White men. If a service provider doesn't understand systems, especially when they are the beneficiary of said systems, they can perpetuate that violence and harm. It may not be malicious or intentional, but it is dangerous nonetheless. And the truth is that many providing life purpose and related services mean well. They want to help people live happier and healthier lives and do their best with the tools and knowledge they have available to them. However, intention and impact are two very different things. If your impact on people is harmful, your intentions hold little weight. All of the inspiration, motivation, and positive thinking in the world does not override the effects of harmful systems, and any coach, program, or process that we work with must understand that. That said, it's also crucial that we as individuals understand systems and their harmful effects. This helps negate the internal stories that say that we are the problem, which is a direct result of systemic conditioning and influence. When you move through life and purpose work with a systems thinking lens, the stress of those systems is reduced, and you have more freedom and leverage to move differently inside of it to create safer, healthier, and more aligned outcomes for yourself. That does not mean that you are 100% responsible for every negative outcome in your life. So much of what is categorized as personal failings are actually structural, systemic failings, and they are designed that way. When we understand that, we are not automatically liberated from those systems, but we are less likely to internalize the harmful messages or take the system's actions and impacts personally, which we talk about in our systems class because I know that this is a hard one. This can reduce the traumatic effects, stress, and limited subconscious programming, giving us more space in our bodies, our nervous systems, our minds, our hearts, and our souls to move differently and live our purpose as an act of resistance. So let's talk about living our purpose as an act of resistance and disruption. Living our fullest expression and following our callings is a necessary and effective way to challenge oppressive systems, assuming that we have deconditioned from their influence, which is a lifelong process. These power systems thrive when individuals and industries conform to their expectations, suppressing autonomy, creativity, and collective well-being while exploiting the land and life-sustaining resources. Choosing to reclaim our purpose is not just a personal journey. It is a direct act of resistance against conditioning that tells us who we should be, what we should value, and how to measure impact. So let's look at the role of purpose in systemic disruption. So first, purpose defies the productivity narrative. These harmful systems, particularly capitalism and corporate culture, equate productivity with worth, measuring success through profit, efficiency, exploitation, and endless growth. When we center true purpose over productivity, and again, true purpose is doing the work that we're here to do, not what the systems need us to do to uphold them, we shift the focus from extraction and burnout to regenerative, sustainable ways of work, commerce, and contribution. And in doing so, we effectively challenge industries to reimagine how work is structured, measured, and valued. This is not to say that some purpose expressions don't involve production or that production is inherently bad, just to say that humans don't exist to produce for the sake of production alone. Our existence isn't meant to fuel an economy that prioritizes profit over people, animals, land, and collective well-being. Second, purpose rejects competitive ways of being. These harmful systems keep us in competition or at odds with each other by instilling fear and manufacturing scarcity. They construct hierarchies that dictate whose voices, labor, and existence are more valuable, leading us to falsely believe that one race, gender, or identity is superior to another, and that some lives are inherently more deserving of security, joy, and opportunity. These systems embed competition into every aspect of society, creating environments where we're pressured to step on, take from, or root for others to fail so that we can, quote unquote, succeed. They weaponize comparison, conditioning us to measure ourselves against arbitrary standards and forcing us into roles of dominance or submission, winner or loser, insider or outsider. But purpose dismantles this illusion by revealing that we're not here to compete. We're here to contribute and be in community. Third, purpose reclaims autonomy from industry gatekeepers. Many industries, rooted in white supremacy and patriarchal values, dictate who is allowed to succeed, whose voices are recognized and amplified, and what knowledge is considered legitimate. Gatekeepers are in place to ensure that these self-serving standards are upheld, keeping so many people from any opportunity to step into their purpose work because they don't align with the system's aim. When individuals and organizations operate from purpose rather than compliance, we remove power from outdated, biased, violent gatekeepers and uplift diverse, under-recognized perspectives. This fundamentally reshapes leadership, hiring, and decision-making structures and allows diverse narratives and perspectives to be centered. Fourth, purpose dismantles ego-driven models of influence. Purpose is not about personal status, fame, or validation. It is about contribution. Traditional leadership, industry practices, and business models prioritize individual achievement, competition, hoarding wealth and resources, and hierarchical power structures. In contrast, purpose-driven work challenges these norms by centering collaboration, equity, and shared impact. This disrupts industries that profit from exclusivity and ego-driven success. When individuals stop chasing after fame and notoriety from self-serving motivations and instead focus on upholding their corner in the web of life, we shift toward more equitable cultures and industries, and people focus on the work that they are here to do, not what their ego may cause them to chase. Fifth, purpose shifts us away from individual gain and toward collective liberation. Systemic change happens when purpose-driven individuals and businesses move beyond self-interest and into collective service. This means creating models that redistribute resources, increase accessibility, and actively work to prevent and repair harm. By reorienting our industries and economies around contribution instead of accumulation, we dismantle these cycles of oppression and create new possibilities for equity and care. Many mainstream definitions of purpose are deeply rooted in Western colonial ideologies, prioritizing self-actualization over community well-being, individualism over interconnection, and financial success over regenerative impact. Reclaiming purpose requires us to unlearn these narratives, reconnect with land-based wisdom, and adopt models that honor interdependence and sustainability. Now, we know that this work is challenging, especially considering that our societies are rooted in capitalism and that we all need to make money to care for ourselves and our lives. Regardless, it is essential to address systemic change on a personal and societal level. Capitalism fails all of us, including those billionaires who seem to forget that they live in the environment too, and that they'll need care from other humans when they're sick or old. It keeps us from living our fullest expression, finding our place, and holding up our corner in this interconnected ecosystem of life. What's undeniable when you look at the world through a systemic lens is that these times have a specific ask for all of us: to disrupt and dismantle harmful systems by focusing on deconditioning, healing, and following our callings. These times ask us all to unhook from consumerism as a coping mechanism for an unfulfilling life, and instead to recenter community, land, and purposeful connections. It's asking us to uncover and heed what is calling us on a soul level, to do our work in the world based on how life has shaped us and what is most needed from us right now, to start our channels for change and create new ways of living and being that allow everyone to safely live their fullest expression. All right, let's talk about the work of deconditioning from social and systemic influence. We've talked about what purpose is, the interconnection between purpose and systemic change, and living our purpose as an act of resistance and disruption. Now, let's talk about how we do the work to return to our purpose seed and uncover our most aligned purpose expression. There's a lot to learn here and many more in-depth conversations to be had, but this will get you started. So first, rejecting the myth of one true purpose in life. We've already covered a lot of this by redefining purpose and breaking down the seed of purpose versus the way that our purpose wishes to express itself. And remember, the definition of purpose inside of personal development and life purpose coaching conversations is often incomplete and harmful. It's a major reason why so many go through their life without uncovering their true purpose and following their unique callings. There's a seed of our purpose, which is who we're here to be, and there's how our purpose wants to express itself right now based on how life has shaped us and the times we live in. The first step is noticing where we've bought into the myth of one true purpose in life. Notice where your thinking orients towards finding it and having that one thing that you'll do forever. Notice where you've kept yourself stuck, or others if you're providing this work as a service, because you believe you have to see things through versus allowing for pivots and evolutions. And notice where you hold the belief that true purpose is only for those callings that are larger in scale and scope, making what you feel called to do somehow less meaningful or important. There is a ton to unpack here, and we've linked to a free in-depth blog post that will further support you within the resources section below. Second, understanding what makes you you, which is the seed of your purpose. Believe it or not, many in the life purpose coaching industry don't fully factor in who you are and how you work best. That is not to say that they aren't trying, because many coaches incorporate different assessments into their work with very good intentions. But just because they're using a tool doesn't mean that A, they know how to work with the results, or B, they're using the most supportive tool. Here at Choose Your Calling, we work with two systems for this. First, we work to understand your personality type by using the Enneagram. When it comes to personality typing, we find the Enneagram to be the most effective tool because it goes beyond just identifying traits or skills. It uncovers core motivations, fears, and growth paths, making it useful for self-discovery and life purpose alignment. So here's a look at why life purpose coaching or work should ideally include the Enneagram. Unlike other personality tests, such as Myers-Briggs or StrengthsFinders, that focus on how people behave, the Enneagram digs deeper into why they behave that way, also known as our core motivations and fixations. Purpose isn't just about what you're good at or how you best do it. It's about what drives you at a core level. If you don't understand your core motivation and fixation, you might stay stuck in unconscious patterns and potentially waste time chasing misaligned goals. One of its best features is that the Enneagram assesses and accounts for growth and transformation. Our purpose expression isn't static, it evolves. The Enneagram shows different growth paths for the 9 types, helping us move beyond limiting patterns to reach our full potential. Each type has a stress and a growth directions, showing where we might get stuck in fear versus how we can expand into a more aligned life. Another valuable feature is that each Enneagram type has wings and overlays. Wings are the 2 types before and after hours, with one holding a bit more weight. These wings mean that none of us can be simply defined by the traits of our type, as our wing heavily influences us. Overlays refer to the learned behaviors or patterns that can sometimes mask or influence our core personality type, often from factors like culture, family dynamics, or life experiences. As all life purpose coaching work needs to, the Enneagram allows for more nuance. The Enneagram also considers subconscious programming, an undeniable influence in life purpose coaching work, helping identify self-sabotage and blocks. Many struggle to find their purpose in life because of limiting beliefs, fears, or old conditioning. The Enneagram highlights these common blocks and offers insights into overcoming them. The Enneagram integrates passion, purpose, and contribution as fundamental considerations. It doesn't just tell you what excites you, like passion-based tools, or what you're skilled at, like strengths-based tools. It helps you understand what will bring lasting fulfillment by aligning your natural motivations with meaningful work. Additionally, our purpose expression often comes from healing our core struggles and using them to serve and support others. The Enneagram helps clarify how this often unfolds for each type. The Enneagram is a holistic tool blending psychology, spirituality, and practical growth. It bridges inner fulfillment with external action, showing how deeper self-awareness can lead to outer purposefulness. It also resonates across different perspectives, be it a career lens, a spiritual journey, or seeking personal fulfillment. Next, let's talk about energetics. When it comes to understanding our energetics, human design is one of the most potent tools available because it goes beyond personality traits and skill assessments altogether. Instead, it reveals how your energy is designed to flow, how you best make decisions, and how you can align with your unique purpose in the most effortless and fulfilling way. And what is energy when it comes to human beings? In short, it's the frequency at which we vibrate. And while it's tempting to brush this concept off as woo woo and ungrounded, everything in our universe vibrates at varying frequencies. This isn't just a metaphor, it is physics. Every atom, every molecule in our body is in a constant motion, generating vibrational energy. Just as sound waves, light waves, and radio frequencies exist on a spectrum, so do the energetic patterns within and around us. And this is why we can feel someone's presence before they speak, or sense the weight of a tense room without a word being said. Our energy, influenced by our emotions, our thoughts, our environment, and our physiology, is both a scientific reality and an experiential one. So here's why life purpose coaching should ideally include human design. Unlike personality tests or other assessment tools for coaching, which categorize behavior or strengths, human design helps you understand how your energy naturally functions and where you may be operating out of alignment due to conditioning. Purpose isn't just about what excites you or what you're good at. It's about how you're meant to move through the world and where you experience the most ease and flow. If you don't understand your design, you may struggle with frustration, bitterness, anger, or disappointment because you're trying to force yourself into a misaligned approach. One of the most valuable aspects of human design is that it acknowledges that purpose expression isn't fixed. It is an unfolding process of alignment based on how life shapes us and the times we live in. Unlike rigid frameworks, human design provides a blueprint that helps us understand how we evolve and shift unproductive patterns. Understanding our authority, which is our decision-making style or how we access our intuition, helps us make decisions based on our authentic energy rather than external pressure or expectations. A core focus of human design is deconditioning work, which is rooted in our subconscious programming, the societal, cultural, and familial conditioning that tells us that we should operate in specific ways. Human design helps uncover these layers of influence, showing us where we might be holding on to behaviors that aren't aligned with our energy. And by understanding our centers, our strategy, and our authority, we can break free from self-sabotaging patterns and start making decisions from a place of alignment. Human design views life purpose as an energetic expression and not just a career path. It's focused on how you express your energy in a fulfilling way, integrating purpose and contribution by showing how your natural energy flow supports meaningful work. Each energy type comes with its unique gifts and much needed additions to the community. Human design is another holistic system. It blends astrology, the I Ching, Kabbalah, and quantum physics to offer you a profoundly personalized roadmap for self-discovery. It doesn't just tell you who you are, it shows you how you're meant to operate in the world, make aligned decisions, and work with your energy instead of against it. And when it comes to life purpose development work, especially inside of coaching or mentorship containers, the tools being used matter. Human design isn't just about categorizing personality, it's about helping individuals become their most authentic selves. All that said, we understand that not everybody likes assessments of any kind, as they can be interpreted as confining or limiting. But the ultimate goal of using tools like the Enneagram and human design in life purpose coaching is to understand who you are and how you operate so that whoever you're working with, coach, mentor, otherwise, can work with you in a productive way that honors what makes you unique. Be sure to hop on our email list so that you don't miss our upcoming classes and workshops on the Enneagram and human design. Third, determining the work you're here to do, your purpose expression. The first piece of this work is understanding that work doesn't inherently mean how we earn a living. Your job can have purpose within a company, and your company can have purpose within the community or industry, but that doesn't mean that it's your purpose or that it should be. When your purpose work aligns with how we earn money, that can be good or bad depending on who you are and what you're called to do. Some creatives love being able to do their purpose work full-time and get paid for it, while others feel it robs their purpose work of freedom, joy, and its most authentic expression. Only you can discern if making money at your purpose is going to be the right thing, and there are plenty of examples of people who do it both ways. Sometimes you start with your purpose work being a side hustle or a personal passion project, like launching a podcast, creating illustrative art, or experimenting with ingredients to craft the perfect clean breakfast bar. Over time, as you find mastery and get clear on your purpose expression trajectory, you may then choose to leave your job and go full-time in your purpose work. Just know that if your current job or means for paying the bills is not your purpose work, that's okay. You can do the work to pinpoint your purpose and find a job that fits it, or you can do your purpose work separately for as long as you desire, potentially turning it into income if that makes sense. Now, to stay within the context of this class, rather than spend a ton of time walking through how you uncover the work you're here to do, I want to focus again on the importance of deconditioning from social and systemic influence. The reality is that most of us have grown up under capitalistic, colonial, white supremacy, and patriarchal influences, as have the attachment figures that raised and shaped us before our conscious minds came online. I see many people chasing what feels like a calling when really they're playing right into the game of these systems, or they're still trying to win based on their subconscious winning strategy, focusing on finding safety, security, success, love, and belonging based on what they've been narrowly led to believe is possible or impossible. When we operate under the influence of social and systemic conditioning, we are far more likely to move in the wrong direction, with wrong meaning that we're going down a misaligned path for us. Until we decondition and reconnect with the seed of our purpose, which is who we're here to be, clear any unresolved trauma and unprocessed emotions, repattern our subconscious minds, and begin navigating the world with a systems thinking lens, we can't easily discern what our work really is. We are more likely to follow self-serving, ego-based, capitalistic-oriented goals. And while I don't believe anything is lost when we stray from our true purpose and callings, because we're inherently drawn to use our skills and talents around the things that feel fulfilling, we're often not living our fullest expression or actualizing our full potential in this life. And here are some easy ways to start deconditioning by asking yourself questions like, if I didn't have to worry about money, how would I contribute to the world or my community? And notice that I'm not asking, what would I do at the end of that question? Because if we're still under the influence of and burned out by capitalism, a lot of our initial answers may be more self-serving and disconnected from purpose, which inherently involves some form of contribution. We want to get past all the things that we'd want to do if we finally had a break from working nonstop and being stressed about bills, since those answers, those first answers that come up, aren't usually aligned with our purpose. If that's where your mind goes first, that's okay. Try connecting to the frequency of your body when it's rested and nourished, and then turn your focus outward. All your needs are met, money isn't an issue, and you're ready to contribute something. What is that something? Another question is, what really, truly lights me up? This isn't as simple as what makes us feel happy. It's about looking for that energetic yes towards something. And depending on your energy type, this may show up as a deeper sense of satisfaction, success, peace, or surprise and delight. And answering this question can involve some additional deconditioning from what we think the right answers are. So it requires a deeper level of connection to self and intuition. What we're looking for here are the times we felt most alive and aligned. If I had all the resources necessary, what would I create? And creation is the action or process of bringing something into existence, which is also inherently about contribution. And since contribution goes hand in hand with purpose, exploring what we feel called to create, the key here is that all resources are available to you so that you're not answering from a place of lack. You have all the time, money, support, and other resources needed. What are you creating? Who is it for? Who does it help? And what does it do? And why are you creating it? Lastly, if there was one problem in the world or within my community that I could help solve, what tugs at my heartstrings most loudly? Another angle to explore what we feel called to contribute towards. This isn't about what cancer would I cure or what major crisis like global warming would I eradicate, unless that's right for you. Because remember, purpose expression and callings come at all scales and scopes, and every single one is meaningful and necessary. Answering this question helps us reconnect to the broader communities and environments we're connected to, and the global issues that break our hearts, the most are a clue to the people, places, causes, and issues that we're most concerned with. You might not be here to solve the clean water crisis in faraway countries, but knowing that this pains you the most may help you realize that you want to see a world with happy, healthy, thriving children. Realizing that raising a family of conscious kiddos is what your purpose work is at this time. It can be hard to answer these questions when you're still deconditioning, and because our minds are really great at telling us why things can't be done, especially when your subconscious winning strategy is still running the show. A helpful approach is to take the how off the table. It may feel impossible to achieve from where you are right now, but that doesn't mean that it's actually impossible. Fourth, working with context and discernment. Context is king. This is more than a cliche. It is a truth that not enough coaches or people in the life purpose development field understand and take to heart. Many coaches across all industries don't even understand their own context and worldview, let alone that their clients may have a completely different context and worldview. This is like trying to run a program designed for a PC on an Apple computer. It just doesn't work. This also turns what could be wonderfully inspirational or motivational conversations into harmful experiences because there's a lack of shared context, something that most coaches have little to no understanding or experience in creating. Worse yet, social media bastardizes personal growth and healing conversations, turning them into oversimplified quips that get regurgitated without context. An example that I use of this often is what was a valuable line in an article about maintaining relationships with a healthy and safe parent once we're adults becomes shaming, confusing, and dangerous as a message to somebody with a broken parental relationship due to abuse and trauma because it's missing context. Context is essential for living your purpose and doing your work in the world. And the ability to create shared context is 100% necessary for effective, safe, and supportive communication in any coaching container. To do this, there are some things we need to understand. First, subconscious programming. This is an essential aspect of uncovering your purpose in life that's often overlooked, which is why we're going to talk about it in more depth next. The short for this section is that our subconscious programming serves as our base operating system. We think we're making conscious choices in life, but until we understand the subconscious influences at play that have been there since childhood and are therefore nearly impossible to see ourselves, we're not free and leveraged to do anything with full consciousness. Our subconscious programming shapes our worldviews, beliefs, stories, and interpretations. As coaches, thought leaders, and individuals, we cannot assume that anyone's subconscious is the same as ours. Understanding each person's highly unique subconscious winning strategy is critical. Next, core wounding. Core wounds can be described as an emotional injury from early childhood that further reinforces our subconscious programming and defines our worldview. Our core wound generally revolves around feeling unlovable, broken, or damaged at our core, like we don't belong or some flavor of not being enough. Whatever our core wound is, it shapes what we believe is possible for our lives. It's also a feeling or set of feelings that we actively and unconsciously work extremely hard to never feel. Because it's unconscious, we have no idea that most of our day-to-day motivations for doing, being, or saying anything revolve around affirming that our core wound is untrue. Core wounds can be hindrances to living our purpose, which is why we need to understand what they are, how to uncover them, and how to work with them. Past traumas. Trauma is one of the number one ways that life shapes us, and traumatic experiences often crack us open to our true purpose, revealing deeper callings around which our purpose wishes to express itself. Trauma is preverbal, which means our trauma response is in effect before our conscious mind even registers what's happening. This directly affects our subconscious mind and can further reinforce negative beliefs, fears, core wound stories, and self-doubt. It can also add new ones, instantly altering our worldview and sense of self. Additionally, with trauma, there's no mind over matter as many coaches would have us believe. It's matter over mind because our animal bodies are stuck in an unresolved physiological process. We cannot hustle, mindset, or positively think our way out of trauma. Instead, we must know how to work with trauma neurologically and physiologically. And while being trauma-informed has become a trendy way for many to claim an understanding of these things, it doesn't mean that they have the skill or capacity to help heal it without re-traumatizing you in the process. Trauma healing must include somatic and cellular healing, not just intellectualization. Lastly, values. Our values are beliefs and ideals that guide our actions and decisions. Values can be any number of things and can be boiled down to a set of core values. Because values are rooted in language, semantics is essential, which is the meaning that we individually assign to specific words. For example, two people can say that they value relationships, but that doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. One may value them more highly, centering their life around their partner and family, while another may only value them in a transactional sense, such as they like having people to call when they need something. In life purpose coaching, the person that you're working with must understand your core values, how you rank them, and what they mean to you. If a life purpose coach assumes that you value the same things or mean what they mean by those words, they can't effectively work with you. In addition to understanding these things about yourself, anyone who's doing work in the life purpose or personal development spaces must also understand these things about themselves. Establishing a clear context when coaching, creating content, or teaching is crucial to ethical coaching containers. Fifth, repatterning our subconscious winning strategies. While many in the life purpose world talk about the subconscious, not everyone fully understands or knows how to work with it to create more freedom and leverage. When we're born, the subconscious mind is wide open, accepting all incoming information from the world and people around us. Our conscious mind, which allows us to accept and reject information, doesn't come online until we're between 5 and 7 years old, sometimes even later. So everything that we experience until our conscious mind activates shapes our entire belief system. And this is why most beliefs are inherently limited. They were taught to us over several years while our lives are incredibly narrow. We see our family, our caretakers, possibly go to church or other religious and cultural spaces, and we might spend time at daycares or kindergarten. Those people and experiences form the basis for how we view the entire world and create meaning about it. And those beliefs are the undertone of anything we experience going forward. Those beliefs run on autopilot in the background, much like a computer operating system, the core software that controls how it functions and executes programs, shaping our winning strategy. And this strategy is something that I learned from the brilliant Tracy Goss and her book, The Last Word on Power. This strategy develops based on what we believe is possible and impossible. We begin to compensate for what we think is impossible and operate in particular ways to ensure an attainable level of safety, security, success, love, and belonging. We have no idea that this strategy has formed or its influence on everything we do. It effectively shapes the way that we experience the world, what we listen to or watch for in every situation, how we're most likely to act in response, and what we seek to feel or avoid so that we can be sure that we're winning at the game of life to some acceptable degree. So while coaches may understand on a high level how the subconscious mind works and that many of our foundational beliefs are narrow by nature, they don't understand the winning strategy, how to identify it, or how to release it, because it is not about forming a new or better one. The winning strategy is made up of 4 elements. First, what you listen for. This is where your attention is drawn in every situation. You might be listening to what's being said, how things feel, or the vibe of the space. 2, what actions you take. Once you hear what you're listening for, you take specific actions because experience tells you that they'll produce winning results. While these actions vary depending on the situation, they generally fall into specific categories like provide what's wanted or needed, or figure out what's missing and formulate the best solution. 3, the outcomes you seek. Those winning results are a set of feelings that allow you to feel safe, secure, successful, loved, or like you belong. And 4, the feelings you avoid. When you experience the outcomes you seek and feel like you've won, you don't have to experience your core wound feelings, what you unconsciously avoid. Repatterning the subconscious mind requires a lot more than just thinking positively and changing your mindset. Your subconscious mind has been working from this strategy, influencing every conscious choice you've made for your entire life. It is the basis of your decision-making, action-taking, and way of being. It's how your beliefs are mapped and why certain things feel utterly impossible. And every time that you bump into a seemingly impossible desire or goal, it only further reinforces your winning strategy, anchoring you in even deeper. Anyone in the life purpose coaching field or related industries who defaults to telling you that you're not successful because of your mindset, but who doesn't think that mindset work is anything more than a positive attitude, is not qualified to support you in this work. Along with understanding your personality and energetic typing, mapping your subconscious winning strategy is one of the first things that we do with our clients. You can't repattern something that you don't understand. Instead, you'll continue to self-sabotage, which is just our subconscious's way of keeping us safe and secure, and further reinforce the very things that you're trying to change. Healing on a cellular and somatic level. When it comes to healing, especially when trauma is involved, it's essential to understand that it's not mind over matter. It is matter over mind. Trauma, grief, and unprocessed emotions live in our bodies. While intellectually understanding how experiences affected us and talking through them can provide a certain amount of leverage, allowing us to think about them differently, it doesn't clear the trauma from our cells and animal body. In fact, much of how we're taught to manage our emotions is really just stuffing them down, bypassing them, or thinking positively until we feel better about them. We think that we're strong and that we've moved past our negative emotions. But as Jordan Gray says, every time that you resist feeling an emotion, it goes down into the basement to lift weights, meaning it stays in your body and roots into your psyche. It gets stronger, more nuanced, and more layered the longer that you keep it stored in your body and nervous system. The first step to healing on a cellular and somatic level is to build a relationship with your emotions so that you can process them in real time and process out what's been stored. The first, most important thing to understand about emotions is that there are no good emotions or bad emotions. There's only expansive and contractive energies. Emotions are just energy in motion inside of our bodies. But we're often scared of our emotions because they feel big and overwhelming, or we're never taught how to deal with anything that felt uncomfortable or unpleasant. Add to the mix that most of society deems certain emotions like anger to be bad and negative, especially within the oppressive systems that make up our world, and you have billions of people walking around with unresolved and repressed emotions stored in their bodies. This makes us sick and easily triggered or causes us to blow up at the slightest inconvenience. It leads to depression and feeling numb because we can't mute the only emotions that we don't want to feel, without muting the beautiful and expansive ones as well. Now, quick pause to point out how all of what we're talking about here weaves together. Systems have taught us to be seen and not heard, pleasant and palatable, and definitely never angry. Social systems have made us believe that other contractive emotions like sadness and grief are a weakness, and we've never been taught to feel or healthily process our emotions in general. Additionally, our core wounding and subconscious winning strategies have identified a feeling or set of feelings that are intolerable and to be avoided at all costs because of what we believe they mean about us, our worth and value, and our lovability and security. So many of us have zero relationship to anger in all of its flavors, little ability or safe spaces to cleanly process sadness or grief, and a belief that certain emotions are unsafe and therefore a no-go zone. That's why we have to start by deconditioning from our beliefs around emotions to things like there are no good or bad emotions, only expansive and contractive. This is about the reality of their energy in our body, like how sadness can feel heavy and joy feels light. Emotions are just energy and motion inside of our bodies. They aren't the stories that we tell about them. They don't mean anything other than that that particular energy is moving through us in response to something that's happening. Interpreting our emotions on top of making them good or bad causes us to stuff them down or bypass them. And lastly, all emotions are healthy and valid, all of them. There are no exceptions to this. It's about learning how to process them out of our bodies in safe and healthy ways. And most importantly, in productive ways, which means that we're resolving them rather than amplifying, stewing, or stuffing them down. Adult supremacy is a term that I learned from Colby Tatusis and Andrea Landry, and it's a byproduct of colonialism. The short is that children are the most oppressed people on the planet, and our inability to have a relationship with our emotions is a result of this oppression. Experiencing the full range of our emotions productively directly opposes systems and their harm. 7, understanding and working with systems thinking. Systems. This is a crucial piece of the conversation that we're having, and it's come up in every section because systems make up our world and lives. Remember, to live our purpose in life, we have to free ourselves from systemic conditioning. To free ourselves from systemic conditioning, we must understand systems and their influence. It's only when we understand systemic influence and work to decondition on an individual level that we can collectively create a world where everyone can safely live their fullest expression. We talked about systems and their role in life purpose development at the start of this class, so we're not going to go much more in depth with this because this will be a class of its own in the near future. To start this work, spend some time thinking about the many systems that make up or have made up your life and have shaped you since you were born. Ask yourself some starter questions like, how would I categorize this particular system? What are the key elements or who are the key players that make up this system? How do these elements or players interact with each other and for what purpose? What external factors or other systems influence this system? Who created this system? Who was the system created for? Who benefits the most from the structure of this system and why? Who is the most harmed by this system and why? How has this system influenced my beliefs and values? What has the system taught me to believe about myself? What has it taught me to believe about others? And what has it taught me to believe about the world? There is a whole lot more that goes into systems thinking, especially when we're looking to decondition from harm and oppression and create a world where everyone can safely live their fullest expression. With privilege, we often don't even realize that we're operating inside of a system. And when people point out its harm, we're dumbfounded because it's been nothing but good to us. If you don't believe a system is harmful, the truth is that you're privileged inside of it. That privilege doesn't mean you're morally or otherwise superior or better. It just means the system was designed for you, likely by other people like you, be that in race, ability, religion, class, education, gender, age, income, sexual orientation, or other similar factors. Systems thinking is also crucial to understanding how to work with purpose in a way that honors collective well-being and the land that sustains us, which is crucial for creating a safe and liberated world for everyone. Start by unpacking the systems in your life and how they've shaped your beliefs, and be sure to hop on our email list to be notified when we go deeper into systems thinking conversations. I hope that you enjoyed this class on purpose as a catalyst for individual fulfillment and collective wellness. All of these steps are crucial for deconditioning from the influence of the many harmful systems that have been shaping us since birth. So I hope that you'll hop on our email list to get notified when we release new classes that focus more deeply on each of these topics.